a handshake, whatever you're comfortable with. But go ahead, find that person, give them a little dap, give them a little energy.
You go, sister. Oh, too much coffee.
Perfect. All right, very good. We're gonna get things kicked off a little bit differently today. Usually we dive right into the agenda, but we really want to take a minute to focus on the most important aspect of this work, which is our candidates. You have so many colleagues in the room who have been doing amazing things, working with candidates, working with partners to make sure that candidates get the view, get the opportunities that they deserve. And we want to take a moment to actually recognize them and encourage you to give them a lot of praise and enthusiasm. So the only rule here is that after these candidate stories are shared, I want you to think about the biggest, loudest cheer you can muster up. So if you're here in Austin with me, I want them to hear it all the way down on 20. I really want you to give your friends, your colleagues, some real sincere praise for some of the great work that they've been doing. So if you've been tapped to share a candidate's story or to extend your gratitude, in a second, you'll see the person that you've been tapped to speak on show up. When you see him show up, come on over to the podium here. The camera is right there-ish, so all of our friends, you can speak to them, those who are joining us over GVC. And again, audience enthusiasm. Let's go ahead and get started. You're up first, Eden.
Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, I'm Eden Tompkins, and here's what our candidates are saying about Michael Staffeld. One candidate says, "Hi, Michael. I really appreciate and respect that Google is giving a fair chance to all candidates to have their application reviewed." Another candidate says, "Hello, Michael. Thank you for reaching out. I appreciate your commitment to fairness." And another candidate says, "Hi, Michael. Gosh, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to correct my resume." Michael, thanks for being an awesome teammate. This is from me. You're committed to giving candidates the best experience, and you often go out of your way to make sure they are given a fair chance for success at Google. Your creativity shines through on our team, and your ability to think critically has helped us all out a number of times. Thanks for being so kind and funny and brightening all of our days.
Hi, y'all. My name is Beth Andre, and I'm honored to talk about Eden Tompkins today. So a candidate sent in this letter about Eden. Dear Eden, thank you very much for your reply and encouragement. Your kind words gave me confidence, even if I couldn't get the opportunity this time. I will go on working hard to improve my programming skills to pursue my dream of becoming an excellent software engineer at Google. I believe I can show my progress when I apply for other roles next time. Thank you very much again for not only being a recruiter, but an advocate for me. Best regards to your family and you. Sincerely, Kong. On a personal note, Eden is a fantastic teammate. She's an outside-the-box thinker, committed to candidate experience, and an amazing person to work with. She is thoughtful about her work and in her relationships with teammates. I'm so thankful I get to sit next to Eden and learn from her on a daily basis.
Hi, everybody. I am Courtney Taylor, and this is what some of our candidates are saying about Brittany Varner. Yes. Brittany was super helpful, responsive, positive, and really guided me throughout the process. I really felt supported, and I enjoyed communicating with her a lot. Here's another candidate. Thank you for taking the time to review my application. I will continue working for improvements. I will definitely look at the Kickstart program, and I appreciate you taking the time to provide me feedback on my application. It meant so much to me. So those are what our candidates are saying about Brittany. And on a personal note, when I was asked to talk about Brittany, I first wondered how much time will I have? Because there's so many great things. Brittany is truly the lifeline phone a friend when it comes to business processes, workflow processes, everything Google, candidate experience. There is not a task that she is handed that she cannot resolve. She is amazing. Her business acumen is on point. She's a wonderful resource, and she truly embodies everything Google and googliness. And it's so amazing to have you as part of the team.
Hi, everyone. I'm Isabel Palma, and here's what our candidates are having to say about Kevin Riley. Yeah, give it up for Kevin! I thought most of my applications were going unseen. This is the first time that I'm getting a reply from Google, and your email has boosted my confidence. Thank you so much, Kevin. I am so glad and grateful for this opportunity, and this would not have happened without your help and kind words. I just want to reach out and show my genuine appreciation for everything you've done for me. On a personal note, Kevin, thank you so much for being such an amazing teammate. I've had numerous opportunities to collaborate with you, and it's always a pleasure. I admire your work ethic and look forward to working with you more. Give it up for Kevin.
Hi, I'm Alice. I'm not coming up to the podium. As we approach the finish line for reviewing engineering practicum applicants, I came across a candidate with a really unique background and experience. The candidate was currently a sophomore at Stanford, majoring in computer science, and his resume indicated that he also held positions in several American Indian student organizations on campus. I wanted to bring him to the attention of our staffing partners, and I was pondering exactly how I should do this. I tried a couple of methods, and because it was really late in the season, and I wanted to see if we could get him moving forward. And I finally achieved success when I reached out to Simone Stoltz-Clark, featured right up there, who was on a bungee from campus ACT to EP intern staffing. She took a look, she expressed an interest, and said she would reach out to her lead for approval. Her lead approved. Simone reached out that same day, and the candidate starts his engineering practicum internship in July of 2019. And Simone is completely on the ball. I don't know if you've ever worked with her. She's extremely thoughtful, responsive, and she will definitely go that extra mile, and I really appreciate that.
Oh, there you are. Hey, y'all. My name is Michelle Upshaw, and here's what our candidates are saying about the great Tianka Shepard. Tianka, thank you so much for the welcome. I had a great first 2 days at Nuclear Orientation, and I'm looking forward to starting my time here. I also appreciate everyone's help in the recruiting process. It was such a positive experience. I will keep other potential recruits in mind and definitely send them your way. All my best, Lulu. On a personal note, Tianka, in the words of the great Maya Angelou, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Tianka, each and every day, you make our team feel amazing. You make us feel supported, you bring peace to the team, and you're always down for some fun dancing time. I want you to know, as your friend, your work and dedication is very inspiring. I'm super proud of the woman you are today, and I'm super proud of the woman you're becoming tomorrow. Keep being an amazing woman. Thank you so much for your hard work, and we love you from the GMT ACT team.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jesse from GBOP ACT, and I'm here to talk about the amazing, sweet Annie. This is from a candidate. Hi, Annie. Thank you so much for sharing my application with Holly for this role. It means a lot that you did that. My new team is super wonderful. They are amazing people to work with, and I feel like I'm learning a lot growing in my career. I have never been to Austin, but if I ever am, I'll take you up on that offer. You are a total rock star, Toby. And on a personal note, Annie, I just thank you so much for being a constant beam of positivity and generosity for our team. Each and every week, you always make sure to recognize one or more of your peers. On top of that, your own accomplishments cannot be ignored. From your training facilitation for our new teammates, to your knack for process improvement, to sharing your expertise on the ABP legal world, you have earned the respect and admiration of your team, staffing partners, and Google. Thank you so much, Annie.
I'm Stephanie Novacek, and here is what our candidates are saying about Matt Taylor. Hi, Matthew. Hope you are well. Wanted to send over a quick update on the interview process at Google. I officially received my offer letter last week and signed on Friday. I'll be starting in mid-January in Mountain View. Again, I really appreciate your time kicking off the interview process. I am so excited to be joining Google next month. Thank you. Best, Kareem. Matt, thank you for all of the hard work you pour into our team. From tracking resources to sharing your collaborated efforts on Project OWL and all of the candidates you've personally shared with me and many other people on our team, thank you. Please know that your hard work does not go unnoticed. I'm sure you're quietly working on many more amazing and great things, and I can't wait to see the great work you continue to accomplish. I'm very proud to be your teammate and your friend.
Hi, I'm Mary Walker, and this is what our candidates are saying about Jesse. I appreciate you coming out to UTSA, and I feel more prepared if I get an on-site interview. Another candidate says, the interviews ended up going well. I'm starting at YouTube next week. I appreciate you guys coming out to UTSA and taking the time to talk with us. Jesse, thank you so much for being the most awesome teammate I have ever had. Every day at Google is a blast with you. Your amazing spirit and positive attitude is a daily inspiration for me. You genuinely care about everyone around you and will take time out of your busy schedule without question to help out others. This shows in what your candidates have to say about you. You, on a daily basis, are impacting the lives of so many around you in such a great way. Please never stop being the absolutely fabulous person that you are.
Hey, I'm Jeannie Lyons, and I'm here to talk about a candidate win story from Rachel Green. So Rachel helped hire a director at Google who probably wouldn't be working here if it wasn't for her. So Paul Nicholas is his name. He actually accepted the Director of Emerging Trends, super big role here, on January 22nd. The candidate first applied to a public policy and government relations manager role, and Rachel got him over to Lauren Beecher, who was on the leadership team at that time, for the win in his current role right now of emerging trends. The process just took a couple months, and it was the first shared OA that the leadership team got back in that day from another team over in GBOP. So congrats, Rachel, for that win. On a personal note, Rachel is a true community leader and a really well-valued teammate here. She leads I Am Remarkable workshops and even has her own business leadership box. She's a true leader through and through, and Google and ACT is super lucky to have you. Thanks, Rachel.
Hey everyone, I'm Bree Burt. I'm here to tell you about an amazing candidate story made possible by the even more amazing Catherine Tram. Vahan was shared from Denise Lee on the campus team. When Catherine had originally spoken with him, he indicated, he had some nerves about interviewing. Google's his dream company, and he really didn't want to make a poor first impression. Catherine worked really hard with Vahan to ensure he was adequately prepared for his interview, but unfortunately the results just weren't what they were hoping for. However, Catherine didn't stop there. Utilizing his feedback from the interview and her domain expertise, excuse the perf language, Catherine managed to find a role within developer relations where Vahan could be a fit. And although he was disappointed that the original role didn't work out, he was just as excited for this new opportunity. Catherine, thanks to you, someone with no other avenue into Google is one step closer to his dreams. And furthermore, you've ensured his first experience was a great one. You have a natural ability to see the person behind every resume and the potential within every situation. This combination not only makes you a great advocate for our candidates, but an amazing partner as well. Google and our candidates are extremely lucky to have you. I'm gonna stay up here for one more. We're gonna talk about another candidate story with Sarah Super. Matt Carney was actually first referred into our software engineering roles. Despite a strong referral, Matt's resume was extremely bare, so much so that at first glance, he did not even meet our minimum qualifications. However, Sarah noticed that the referral feedback suggested otherwise. So she put on her Nancy Drew cap and she worked with both the candidate and Googler to better understand what his background was and ultimately found that the resume just simply didn't provide the appropriate context. Sarah then assisted the candidate with his resume rewrite, providing tips and resources to ensure that the full breadth of his expertise was captured. With his resume and G-Hire profile updated with this new context, Sarah was able to move forward and push Matt through our process. Matt finally got the opportunity to see our Sunnyvale campus during his on-site interview yesterday, and Sarah was able to conduct his meet and greet. Sarah, your passion to make a difference is truly inspiring. You know that there's more to a story than just what meets the eye, and you're determined to bring that story to light. You care so deeply about those that you interact with, be it your candidates, your teammates, or your internal partners. And although you've only been here for a few short months, you've already made an amazing impact, and I personally can't wait to see what else you're going to accomplish.
Hello, my name is Jose Cuellar, and I wanted to highlight Julio Ahmad, but really I'm going to focus more on how he advocates for his candidates. So here's a quick story. For one of our SWE applications, a candidate received a lean no hire on their TPS, which unfortunately is not what we wanted to see. However, Jalil noticed that the interviewer actually said, I think this candidate was good enough that they may prove stronger during the on-site interview. But they were rejected. Jalil saw the feedback outcome and their application, so he shared them with Rico Curry, who works with our borderline SWEs for net eng roles. Through continuous coaching, the candidate was able to get entered right back into our process and ended up getting an OA. So that was really amazing. So I wanted to shout that out. This is just one of the ways Jalil advocates for our candidates and shows the power of reading and interview feedback and getting the full story on a candidate. So Jalil, I just wanted to thank you for always advocating for your candidates and doing right by them. Additionally, thank you for being who you are and for always being fun and being a source of energy for the team.
Hey, so my name is Miriam Lopez, and I'm here to talk about Kylie Smith. We have a great candidate story that I'd really like to share with you. It's about Evan Zhang, an ER candidate who applied to 3 different ML or machine learning positions. After reviewing their resume, though, Kylie realized that they were actually a university graduate candidate. She reached out and gauged their interest for the role. Of course, they loved it. And she went ahead and copied over their application to UG. You see, we have a 3-app limit per month, and the candidate was not able to apply directly. So Kylie was able to get that taken care of. Aaron Sudlison was able to move them forward based on their little Snapchat survey that they send out. And then that brought him over to Lauren Cabral for on-site interviews, and Evan just accepted their offer February 12th of this year, and they will be starting in June in the Bay Area. Kylie, I want to just thank you for how much you've grown throughout this entire year. I'm so proud of you. You do your due diligence to advocate for all your candidates, And I want you to know how much I appreciate you and how much I'm sure everyone on the team appreciates you as well. And thank you for being one of my best friends.
Hi, I'm Marty Galliano, and I'm here to let you know what our partners are saying about Brandy Wentz. Brandy was a standout partner over the last few months as she helped me with my GWAB external postings. Her attention to detail, timeliness, organization, and grit to dig through and put together some incredibly difficult job descriptions from scratch was invaluable. Brandy, just like you heard from the quote, you're an amazing partner, and I'm so happy to work with you. You're so bright and your organization skills are so out of this world. To be honest, I'm a little jealous of them. You have put together some of the most valuable best practice and learning documents for leadership that we can share with our partners and future leadership members. Our team wouldn't be where we're at today without you. It's such a pleasure to work with you.
All right, very good. Can we get one more round of applause for all the great candidate advocacy? Amazing work. That's just a few stories, lots more stories across the organization. We hope to share more over the course of the quarter. Now I'm going to turn it over to Jeannie to share a little bit about today's agenda.
Thanks, Cal, so much for starting us off energetically like that. Here's what we have for today. We're going to start with ACT Vision for 2019. Then we're going to move into S&P Next Steps. I know a lot of you have heard some rumblings about changes there and are eager to hear. We'll go over what's new with post-summit initiatives and just a high-level overview about where a couple of those stand. Some more recognition, and then ACT business updates from GEM. And also, I know a few of you have entered some questions into the dory. We'll leave some time for Q&A as well. So I'll just be popping up here between each presenter to just guide us through the agenda. And with that, we'll start back with Kyle again. ACT Vision.
We turn millions of dreams
into thousands of jobs that build hundreds of products that impact billions of users.
I'm Jessica Dominguez. I'm an avid runner and cat lover, and I am active.
I'm Michael Carter. I love people and making new friends, and I am active.
I'm Heidi Lawson. I'm a mother. I'm a wife, and I have wanderlust severely, and I am active.
I'm Brandy Wentz, a hardcore dog mom and renowned aunt, and I am active.
I'm Molly Haas. I'm a former educator and a forever grammar queen, and I am active.
We represent different teams.
Campus.
G-Bob.
Leadership. Tech.
We represent different backgrounds, from former 911 operators to stockbrokers.
And different work styles, from super social greens to data-driven blues.
But one purpose unites us all. We're here to discover potential in all who seek opportunity and advocate for their fair consideration to impact the world of Google.
This work requires belief.
Belief in our candidates, belief in our partners, above all, belief in each other.
What do we believe?
We believe in equality. We believe that anyone can vote for everyone. If a person's skills and knowledge align to the opportunity, they'll always find advocates in us.
We believe in integrity, in doing what's right. We know that there are no shortcuts or substitutes for diligence. We treat each person's application as if it were our own.
We believe in innovation. We pursue perfection and achieve excellence. We iterate creatively, learn and grow through failure, execute efficiently, and scale to achieve impact.
We believe in collaboration. We invest. We inspire. We empower. We seek growth and grow others. We uplift and get lifted. We upskill others and acquire new skills. We share learnings and, most importantly, share success.
We turn millions of dreams
into thousands of jobs that build hundreds of products that impact billions of users.
millions of dreams.
Thousands of jobs, hundreds of products, billions of users. It all begins with one team under one vision.
One active.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Can y'all stand up for 1 second? Can you stand up for 1 second, our group here? Yeah. Yep. You know, it takes an incredible amount of courage and vulnerability to get up in front of your peers and to share our vision, our new vision. And one of the reasons that we chose these folks is because in so many ways, they embody this vision already. They were the perfect messengers for where we're headed. So thank you to each of the visionaries for sharing the work. Hey y'all, I'm back again for the third time. My name is Kyle. I lead our GBOP active team along with Alia. And I'm gonna give you a little bit of perspective and insight in terms of where we're going with our vision. What you just heard were parts of the vision. You heard our commitments, and you also got a chance to hear our purpose. What we'll be sharing moving forward is a little bit more detail around how do we take those things that inspire and motivate us and turn them into action and things that we can measure to really capture that impact that we already know is taking place from so many of the candidate stories that we heard a little bit earlier. So I want to walk through this very, very quickly at a high level. Really the conversations that are going to be deep and meaningful are going to happen at the team level as you begin to think about how to make this unique to each of your own spaces. So we talked about our purpose, that whole goal of discovering potential. When we're looking at candidates, looking for every possible avenue that might make sense for them to join us here at Google. That is an overarching purpose that cuts across all of our houses, leadership, tech, GBOP, campus. Every single one of us is committed to following through on this. We also thought long and hard about where we are as an organization from a strategy standpoint. And so many of you are familiar with the pillars, and the pillars have brought us a long way. They've gotten us to this point. But there was some evolution that needed to happen with the pillars, and we put a lot of thought into how do we make the pillars a tool for moving forward. So we rewrote them. We thought about how do we make them more concise, and how do we have more of a people focus in the pillars. When you return to your desk today, there will be copies of the pillars on your desk, the new rewritten pillars, and these are really going to serve as the heart of our strategy moving forward. So just as you've used the pillars to inform how you work thus far, these new pillars will continue to do the same, but will give us a slightly different lens through which to view our work. Again, the pillars cut across all the different houses. There's something that we all work and aspire towards. Now, where the differentiation comes in is at the strategy level, the priority level, and the goal level. And it's important to recognize that what the work looks like right now for GBOP looks fundamentally different than what the work looks like right now for campus. The processes, the systems, the structures across the different teams, leadership and tech, we need to be able to have diversity across the houses so the teams can work towards their priorities and work towards their goals in the ways that make the most sense to them. This is where you all will come in terms of helping us think through what are our priorities in campus? What are our priorities in tech? What are our priorities in GBOP? What are our priorities in leadership? What are those things we're going to focus on for the next quarter, for the next half year? And how do we measure that impact? And that's not always quantitative. There's some qualitative stuff that goes in there, and there's also some benchmarks and milestones that will go in there as well. So you'll see diversity here, but ultimately what we hope to offer is visibility. Even though it may look different, you'll know what's going on across ACT, so you can be in touch and be in tune with what we're trying to accomplish as one active. Of course, all of this, what runs underneath it are our commitments, and you heard them articulate them so well. And really where you heard them, quite frankly, is in the candidate stories earlier today. You heard so many examples of collaboration and innovation and integrity and working towards equality and working as an advocate. Whether it looks different or whether it looks the same, these things will always be true about the work that we are going to do together. So hopefully that's a little bit of something for everybody. You got a little bit of the motivating and inspiring stuff from my blue blue and my orange people in the room. All the green and gold people were sitting there like, this is quite fluffy. When's the real stuff coming? Great, here it is. We can talk data if you'd like to get down with that. But we got a little bit of something for everyone. And again, a vision is just a vision. This is just a diagram unless we really put the work into building it out and really put the work into believing it. And we're excited about where this thing can go. So more to come. All right, this is the timeline. So today, yay, it got introduced. That's awesome. This week, it is up on a Go link, go/ACT Vision. That is where you can find all of these slides and a little bit more, an explanation what each of the different parts are. And my task for all of you is to deliberate, discuss, debate, right? Again, this is your vision. There are parts of it that you might really get down with. There are parts of it that you might have some real questions about. That's absolutely fine. You can bring them to me. You can bring them to any of the other leads. Hopefully you bring them to your peers, your colleagues, and think about what is it going to take to make sure this thing gets up and off the ground. Please share your feedback. This month, we'll be clarifying the commitments, the priorities, the goals. What does that look like for each of the different teams? Again, that happens in team meetings. That happens in pod meetings. That's where that work will take place. So you can expect a little bit more. And by May 6th, our goal is to ultimately have this thing as wrapped up as possible, maybe a loose end here or there, but that we should have a pretty good idea of what's happening across Active and be able to share that broadly with everyone. All right, with that, I am going to turn it over to the fabulous Christy to talk about S&P.
Hi. Is this thing on? Hi. Hi, I'm Christy Dawson. I am the campus intern. Hi, I'm Christy Dawson. Hi. Hi, I'm Christy Dawson, and I am the lead for campus intern, the intern side of the house. Campus, where you at? Yeah. Gosh, I think it was a while ago that we introduced SMP, self-managed pods. And it was quite the venture to start. And first, I want to just say thank you because everyone really embraced it and took it on. And, you know, this was a pilot that we were doing, a charge from our fearless leader, Jim, and, you know, said, if anybody can do it, we can do it. And in doing a pilot, it was a lot around, let's break this. Let's figure out, does this work? Is it right? Is this okay? And so we've gone through a lot of different things. And so now where we are is a 2.0 version. And so there was a team of folks put together, we call the Sidekick team, that got together and did some work to figure out, so what now? What's the next thing for S&P? And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to the lovely Elizabeth Morgan, who, okay, so I'm going to click for her, but Elizabeth is one of the folks who is on our Sidekick team, and she's going to walk us through what is going on with S&P and next steps. Elizabeth?
Hi, good morning. Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much, Christy. As Christy mentioned, my name is Elizabeth Morgan, and I'm here to talk to you today about self-managed pods. A lot of you know it as SMP. Okay, so many of you probably remember an ACT member stopped in on one of your pod meetings and they asked you questions about your pod. They looked into the structure and they observed how your meeting was running. That was actually a member from our Sidekick team. We stopped by and we compiled data, brought it all together, and compiled 6 themes that you can see on this slide here. Each of the themes, to briefly dive into them, we have how often your team met. Most of you met weekly. How well you understood your pod structure and the goals that you had. How you defined team responsibility, expectations, how you held each other accountable and worked through conflict and ambiguity. And then finally, how the SMP structure helped you personally and your pod overall. We ranked each of your pods based on these themes here from 1 to 4. 1 being we had little structure that we were observing in your meetings, and 4 being that your team seemed to have a very clearly defined structure. We ranked all our responses for each, took our averages, and we made themes with the lowest average, you can see here. So to go high level, just for time's sake, this slide right here shows our strengths and our highest ranking themes from our averages. To sum it all up, most of you had a really obvious awareness of your team's unique structure and goals. You had expectations for each team member. Each person knew what their responsibility was. And overall, as a pod, we all benefited from the SMP structure. We were able to find several areas of opportunity. Across all of our teams, resolution and progression, they seem to score the lowest with an average score of 61%. This told us that across our pods, we need more clarity and structure to handle ambiguous situations, keeping the team on track, helping the team understand how to get through conflict. Oh, I'm still on that slide. Thanks, Christy. Thank you. We decided as a team that the best way to improve the SMP structure would be to focus on pod clarity, and specifically you understanding what your role is within the pod. So we believe that in order to improve the resolution and the progression section, we would do that by giving you definition to what your responsibility is. And our goal, based on what I'm about to share, once we implement next steps, we're going to review this data and see how next steps look. Okay, thanks, Christy. Okay, so our goal based on the analysis is to help you better understand your role. How we're doing that is, if you look at the slide here, on the left or in the color blue, these are all the roles that are currently encompassing the SMP structure. On the right is what the Sidekick team has put into place for SMP roles moving forward. What we did was we combined like roles. We removed aspects of roles that you don't seem to be currently using within your pods. We took out ambiguous roles. We gave roles the opportunity to easily perform with multiple people within the role. And we made each role more clear. We set the expectations. We moved from 11 roles on the left over to 4 required roles and 3 optional roles. And we've declined the number of roles, but we've improved their structure and we've made these expectations less ambiguous. We'll be discussing each of these roles in a more intimate setting within each of your groups within the coming weeks. And we're going to be sharing resources with your specific group as well. This is going to help you to feel less ambiguous in the various situations you find yourself in, and also enhance goal setting. All right, Christy, thank you. Okay, so next steps. Within the coming weeks, we're going to implement SMP 2.0. So a member from each of our teams is going to present an in-depth breakdown. We're going to talk about your new roles. We're going to dive into responsibilities for each. Middle of April, pods are going to start shifting into this new SMP layout based on these information sessions that we're going to be rolling out shortly. And then in June, we're going to reevaluate how this is working. We're going to see how things have improved, how they've changed, and dive into some data again. Okay, Christy. Any questions?
Okay. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. That was awesome. Any questions? I also want to give a shout out to the Sidekick team. So if those folks would stand up, please. Definitely want to say thank you for your hard work. So we had representation across all the groups, of course. And so I definitely want to thank you all so much for your hard work. Any immediate questions? Just to recap really quick, we are going to come back to the individual pods and roll this out in a more granular level. But any right off the bat? Anyone on GC?
Is there an estimated size for the new pod structure?
An estimated what? I'm sorry.
Size, number of individuals in each pod?
The size will most likely stay the same based on what we've seen, relative to around 6 to 10. That's the pretty good average.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Greg. I'm curious to see where the responsibilities for the operational POC are now being placed in the new structure.
Yep. So what we did is we actually took everything line by line. And what we found is some of the pieces around the operational POC could fall within the facilitator, and then some parts of it could fall into the data structures. Because the problem we were having is there's an access level, right? So some people could access data and some couldn't, and it just was getting really muddy in terms of like figuring it out. So we wanted to really clear those lines. So we moved, I wouldn't say it's all falling into one thing. We really just moved things around to see what's most appropriate. And some of it falls in some categories and some in others. Yes, Shayna. Yeah.
So my question is, with these roles and some kind of redefining them, is it going to be like a time limit on each one? Will we be rotating maybe quarterly or monthly, or how are you guys looking to do so with these?
Yeah, so one of the things that I definitely want people to keep in mind that's wonderful about the self-managed pod structures is that the pod can make that decision on should it be a person who does this for a period of time, right? In some cases, that may work. In some cases, it may not. One of the greatest parts of this is that in your own pod, you get to make that decision. So you should come together and say, hey, what do we think is best for this? Is it the type of role or that someone can do for 6 months and then move on to something else? Or is it something that should change by quarter? I think it's a good discussion point for each pod. That's not something we would lay down as like a hard, fast rule, but great question. Thank you. Yes, Megan.
In regards to evaluating the new roles in June. So I know on the campus space we have busy season and not busy season. So reevaluating in June, I think we'll have a little more bandwidth because we're just ramping up to get into busy season. So will we be reevaluating again to see what those roles look like when we're really deep in them?
So being on campus, right? That's definitely something I'm thinking about. And I think one of the things that will be important is that as you have your meetings with your individual pods, to kind of raise things as they're happening. When campus is in that busy season, it's really hard to say, hey, everybody, could you stop for a second so we can ask you a bunch of questions? Because most of campus is going to be like, well, no. So we want to be thoughtful about how we do that and when. So the June timeframe is very strategic. Will it happen again in September? Probably not, right? It may be closer towards the end of the year, not really sure. But I think it'll depend also on what we find in the June timeframe. Thank you. Okay, well, if there's other questions, feel free. You guys know where to find me. You can ping me at any time. Happy to answer questions. Again, round of applause for the Sidekick team. I appreciate all of you so much.
So next up, we'll have Debbie and myself talking about the post-summit initiatives.
Woo! Go Debbie!
Debbie's gonna kick us off. I think I heard a woo from her, but.
That was Elizabeth. But yeah, so I'm Debbie Malone. I'm a lead for Active Channels Tech. And Jeannie and I are going to give you an update, a high-level overview of the initiatives that came out of our summit last June. Next slide.
All right, so these are some of the current ones for Q1 under the Invest in Ourselves pillar. So who's attended a KBB so far? Wow, most of the room. And in Mountain View too. So yeah, we've had 6 sessions and an average of 26 people at each session. So keep feeding feedback into that for content that you want to see. It's a strong developed thing that we're going to keep on doing. The next one is the coffee chat program. So that launched this quarter as well. About 71 people registered for it originally, and about 13 pairs of coffee chats have happened. So this means there's more room. Some people that have signed up haven't taken advantage yet and scheduled that getting to know you session. I know Debbie had a great session if you want to chime in about one that you did?
Yeah, I had a great session with Ross on the campus team, and we were able to make some connections. I was able to connect him with a few people regarding some of his ideas around candidate experience. I was able to connect him with somebody else who had lived in South Africa. We really had a great conversation, and I think it's a great program. It's just a wonderful way to meet other people in our organization. So please do take advantage.
Yeah, and even if you've had one before, there's a way in the tool to get another buddy. So this is one that we could take a bit more advantage on that came from ideas from y'all from the summit. So then the third one is the quarterly newsletter. Who saw that one? Most of them, yeah. Big kudos for the team that put this together across all of our houses. There will be another one, of course, that comes out from early Q1 progress, but great way to find out all the fun things and results going on in each team. It'll probably be a space too where right from the vision for 2019, we could stick some of the results from each house in there. So it'll be a way for us to stay connected even between these all hands too.
So now we'll talk about the projects that are focused on candidate experience. First, we have Project Pi. Project Pi is our project to send communications to online candidates, letting them know that they've been rejected. We continue to see really positive results from those candidates receiving those communications. They appreciate it so much. So in Q1, we expanded this project across all of active channels. In Q2 now, we're going to expand to EMEA and APAC. We want to understand the cultural data from those regions to ensure that we can automate this feature across the board. We also will expand to several teams within PA staffing, cloud and hardware to name those. The next step is for this project to be presented to the Corp Eng team so we can obtain resourcing and have the solution automated within GHire. We're really excited for the progress we're making, and we thank all of you for that manual process that you're managing today and hope to have it automated soon. We'll keep you updated.
Nice. And then the other one we have under candidate experience is the Magical Candidate Initiative. This was birthed from the campus team. There was an initiative where we analyzed all of the qualitative and quantitative feedback that candidates were telling us. And we totally revamped how we did IPSs in campus and other things like that and how we interacted with them. So this was the idea from the summit, to spread candidate experience across all of ACT and figure out what that looks like in each house too. So there's representatives from each team that have come together now and are figuring out what those concrete next steps to do for all of us. So first, a lot of you have already completed a survey just to find out what is going on across ACT. How do we look at candidate experience and user so the team right now is in the phase of synthesizing some key themes to put together action items for all of ACT.
Yay. Okay, and then our initiatives around getting stuff done. So the first one is around job posting consultation. As all of you know, over the last year, we've had a goal to grow our team as consultants, right? So in our last all hands, we had the presentation from Marissa and Chris on our job posting content strategy. And I think that strategy has been really impactful and that a lot of us have been able to change the way that we're writing our job requisitions and ensure that they're complying with this new strategy. We also in Q1 had the training from Vanessa on the job posting 101. That training now is available on Grow, and all of these resources are now linked on Go/job posting. So please, as you work with your clients, share these resources with them, help them get trained up on these as well, because the more we can move up this knowledge earlier in the process, then it makes OTC's check at the end just a check mark, right? Where everything will be much more efficient and much more smooth. If there's anything else you need to be a really strong consultant for your clients, please talk to your lead and let us know, okay? I also want to talk about our Good for Google tagging project. So this again came out of the summit, really great ideas in terms of providing future pipeline to sourcing. And so for this particular project, the investigation has completed, and there's really a two-prong approach here. One is that active would be tagging candidates that meet specific Good for Google criteria, as well as ResOps will tag candidates for us who have interviewed within the last 10 to 24 months. with a leaning no higher or stronger score. That again will ensure more pipeline. So our plan going forward now is that within tech, we will launch this on April 8th for the PM team, product manager, and Swedona. All other groups within tech will launch on May 6th. There'll be a presentation in our next team meeting that will go deeper into good for Google tagging, and then we'll work with GBOP and also launch for GBOP as well. Okay, so that's what's happening with those projects.
Yep. So again, stand up in this room if you worked on any type of post-summit initiative this quarter.
Woo. Stand up, say.
Thank you for your hard work from all of us. And with that, we will move right along to recognition and bring up Brooke.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Yeah. Sorry, we have a lot of people to recognize, so I have to cheat and read names. So the next portion of this is going to be for everyone who received a Champs Award. One of the coolest thing about Champs is that it is nominated by peers. So this means that people that work next to you are recognizing your work. And a lot of people that were nominated for these were not only nominated for different portions of the champ, but also I saw names of multiple people or nominated by more people on their team, and I couldn't put their pictures multiple times. So awesome job to everyone who is showing their passions for the work. And we will get into the next slide. Who's doing the, perfect. So we have for collaboration, these are the people that are changing lives together. We have Kat Garcia, Eden Tompkins, Antoinette Hayford, JB Morey, Haley Sands, June Choi, Courtney Leonard, Samantha Reagan, Natasha Singh, Aubrey Garza, Matthew Taylor, Aaron Elam, Ryan George, Kelsey Bisco, Ashley Cresson, Cy Brownlee, Devin Douglas, Shayna Cobbs, and Tianka Shepard. Next slide. So the next one is for community, and this is for the folks that are creating a global family. For this one, we have Lindsay McGrath, Jeannie Lyons, JB Morey, Kevin Riley, Haiti Lawson, Blair Bollock, Kelsey Bisco, Tom Rummer, Lonnie Armstrong Jr., Beth Andre, Eden Tompkins, June Choi, Jennifer Burrows, Devin Douglas, and Tyler Kelly. Next, we have culture of care. Every candidate has a story. We have Evelyn Lowe, Cy Brownlee, Natalie Rex, Mary Kate Rapaski, Aubrey Garza, Taylor Smith, Zachary Meyer, Annie Hastings, Courtney Leonard, Terry Harden, Kelly Floyd, and Kevin Riley. Congrats again to all of our champs. Continue to vote for each other. I know it means a lot for each individual to be able to be nominated by their peers. And we saw a lot of faces on here. This was just January through March, so more to come in the next All Hands.
Hello. I have never been more humbled than in this thing today, right? I don't think I've ever cried at an all hands, and you lot got me twice in one thing. It was awesome. That start was just fantastic. Both the stories and the thank yous to each other, and then the vision piece, right? Yeah, it's just fantastic. Thank you, all of you who contributed to it, and the contributions across the board across the last year or so. I got asked a question last week, this week, 2 weeks ago, kind of continuously. What happened? We very nearly quadrupled the number of online hires from 2017 to 2018. Like within a couple of hundred would have been like 4x. So the question was, what on earth did you do? And it's you folks, it's the vision, it's the mission, the way that everyone has taken it. This is global numbers. We also doubled the online contribution to Google's hiring. Doubled it year on year. Why is this important? Anyone? Because the online channel, and I'm specifically talking online, not active, right? So this is not employer referrals. The online channel has the best representation, numbers, demographic numbers, whatever you want to call it, from any of the channels. And we doubled the overall contribution to Google, and we quadrupled the number of hires. That's just amazing. So the biggest hiring year Google's ever had, we double what we put into it, and we quadruple the numbers, and we do it in a more representative way than any of the other channels. Thank you, all of you. You're changing millions, billions of lives, all of that stuff, right? Those people who are in the GPS all hands, there was an OKR put in there for 2019 for the online channel to be the dominant channel, i.e. the biggest percentage of hires for Google moving forward. We were 37% last year, right? We're going to have to grow that, but that's the commitment from the company to the work you do because of the work that you do, right? When I talk about those representation numbers, I'm not talking about the application piece. I'm talking about the OAs, right? So you're hiring people from all of those different backgrounds, and just bringing, you know, a really rich culture to Google, rich and diverse culture to Google. So thank you, all of you, for all of the work that you do. And that vision just sets us up to carry on that mission, and to continue to drive this forward. So that's basically the gist of my business updates, because it doesn't get any better than that. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on around it, but carrying on the great work of driving the consultation, making the job specs more accurate so people can truly understand them, so people can apply to the right role that suits them, so that we can screen them into the right role, we can be their advocates, we can get them through the process, and we can get them hired. Carry on screening them fast, get them early, get as many roles as possible into that first 24 hours so that we can put our candidates to the front of the queue, ahead of those source candidates, ahead of those employer referrals, right? It's a bit of competition. But this is all the work that we do and that we can do to represent our candidates coming through. So thank you, all of you. I wanted to leave time for, oh, that's an old slide, but for Q&A. Did you have the actual slide? I put something on there with no, the one before that, no. Oh yeah, maybe. They changed it. They left me a tiny little box on this slide to do business updates, so I wrote in very, very tiny writing. Cool, so questions, like leads, if you want to come up and be able to field questions as well. What do people want to know? What you know, what can we tell you? Don't be shy. Annie. And I'm going to give you, I'm going to like run around with the mic because the people on there can't hear the question otherwise.
So thanks for all of the recap and everything. So my question would be, with the growth or with what our active channel is going to accomplish and with the higher volume, are we anticipate to see our whole team active channels grow bigger and having more new folks joining? Or do we see, from a lead's perspective, we see more cross-team collaboration? Like when the campus season is lower, we will have a couple of people from campus joining GBOP and vice versa.
A bit of both. So our team size, one of the asks that I've made to overall GPS leadership is that they start to resource us based on our application incoming volumes, not on the reverse engineering from the number of OAs that we get. Because I truly believe that being resourced effectively on the incoming volume enables us to do the job properly and actually to close recs faster, which means we need less people in the long run, not more, but it's less sources that would be needed, if that makes sense. So it's kind of moving the pieces around. Team size, we're tasked with 100% of GBOT for North America. We're tasked with 100% of campus for North America. We're tasked with 100% for the Big Five. We're tasked with 100% for leadership. But the leadership stat about what percentage of their recs that they currently post?
Only 40%.
So we've got potential of 60% growth in the leadership space of remaining roles that aren't getting posted, which are non-confidential, so they could be posted. And we're growing that all the time. So that's our real growth space now. I'd be lying to you if I hadn't said, let's take over everything else that we don't do. So, fingers crossed, but the decision isn't mine. But that's the ask that we've made. What we have to do as a team is figure out the resourcing to effectively deal with the increase in application volume, because we can't predict it, because we don't control it. Last year, what was the growth?
Overall,
20% growth of applications year on year. The applicant growth actually was bigger than that, but because we'd put the 3-app limit in October 2017, thankfully it restricted the application flow, because we might well have hit 4 million applications last year if that hadn't have gone in place. All right? The applicant numbers jumped through the roof. Does that answer your question? Cool. Any more?
Natalie has a question. Hello.
Elizabeth always has a ton of energy. We'll just and then we have one in Austin too, so we'll bounce back.
Go ahead. Oh, Austin first?
No, you first.
Me first. Okay. I have a question. I know that we are focusing on growing and we have substantial growth goals for next year. I'm curious, just a high overview, what we're planning on doing so that we do continue to grow in quantity candidates, but that they're also quality, that we're ensuring that the people that we pass through are still, I guess to echo, just high quality, high caliber individuals.
So I think that really starts with you folks focusing at the beginning of the process and getting the job spec right. You get that job spec right, and where you can with the hiring manager to truly make them understand that when you say minimum qualifications, that's what you mean. So that when a candidate meets those minimum qualifications, they should feel comfortable hiring that person. Then it forms the contract, right? Contract between the applicant, the hiring manager, offer review, hiring committees, interviewers, you, the recruiters, the sources, everybody. That's then that contract that everyone can see, this is what we're judging folks by. This was the statement at the beginning. It's all demonstrable experience that we're going to see evidence in resumes. So then we can drive those people forward. Then the conversation of quality over quantity doesn't actually come into play, because you either meet the MQs or you don't. And as we pass the candidates through who meet the MQs, and there's less channel bias. So less of the bias of, I only want to hire an employer referral. What's that got to do with it? There's people behind these resumes, whatever the quote was, who was it who saw the person behind the resume? Exactly. Say it again.
We view each application as if it were our own.
Exactly. It doesn't matter what the source was. So we've got to then get that through to the staffers, to the hiring managers, to everybody else, that this person has got the qualifications. Doesn't matter who they know at Google. They are the right person for the role. And here's another 5 people who are also the right people for the role. You're spoiled for choice. Interview them all and make a great hire. That's where we are. That's where we want to be. Bree?
Adding to that as well, it does directly tie into our mission and our pillars. And now that we've just had that announcement during this All Hands 2, you'll be getting even more clarity around specific goals that we'll kind of craft together within our own houses as well. But it is something that should be baked into our fundamental values.
And I'll just add to it that sometimes we're busting myths too, with leadership hiring. I think they tried leadership hiring about 6 years ago, didn't get any traction from it. We just passed our first year in inception, and we've hired 8 directors, 7 L7 below hires. So we're going back, sitting in the rooms with those VPs actually, and talking to them about the power of the active channel. Our on-site candidates, people that aren't even applying, but getting all the way to onsite, are even more diverse too than the representation of the workforce out there. So taking the data that we can collect from our findings too, and standing your ground and confidence in that you all are ACT consultants too, and bringing that data to influence so that we are too we have the equal candidates. There's just some historical myths sometimes that come from, oh man, this random sourced candidate I found might be better. So yeah, use your data as well and stand your ground. Yeah, 7 of the 8 were unknown completely to Google altogether before that. So yeah, they're applying online. The sourcers aren't even looking where the candidates are applying anyway. They might be focused on the Bay Area. There's a candidate now from Nashville that applied. They wouldn't have gone after them before because they would have thought, oh, I'm not going to waste my time. They're never going to relocate. But just the fact that they applied online signals that they might be willing to. So that's another myth where they might be like, oh, I'm hesitant to chat with them. But no, they applied online, they're interested. Let's give these folks a shot.
Got a question up the back.
With you all saying how the numbers have been tripled since 2017 to where it is now, and how we've grown as a team, and how we've grown Google, and what an impact that we've made, what investment can we expect or is in the works to be given back to us as a team, as TVCs or as FTEs, as far as the commitment? As we're growing Google, are we also growing what we have, the talent that we have internally already?
What a great question. Thank you. Absolutely. Watch this space. We are, right now this week, there is the Sunil Directs offsite happening in Singapore. Yeah, part of it was calibration for the whole of GPS. But what they're also talking about are 3 particular hot topics. Hot topic number 1 is the online hiring space. That includes online marketing, the career site, Google's employment brand, and everything that we do, the teams in EMEA and APAC do, the incoming volumes and everything else. The statement that Brian Ong made last week, that one of the core 4 OKRs is for online to become the dominant channel, that in itself sets the scene for the investment that we will see. I can only expect that kind of investment into our team in terms of the capability to grow all of you, and the capability to stabilize the team. I think there was probably some of your question about conversions and that kind of stuff coming through. So watch this space, and hopefully it will look brighter compared to how it has been. I'm not necessarily saying it was bad, but we'll get better. Does that answer what you're looking for? I can't give specifics. Yeah. Blooming flowers. Blooming flowers I like. That's good. Blair.
Hi. So I love that we're so adamant about moving candidates forward that meet MQs and PQs. I think we're incredible advocates for everyone across the board. I just wonder how we grapple with sort of the conflicting message of leveling. Oftentimes I come across candidates that maybe they're a seasoned analyst or they're seasoned in their role. And sometimes I wonder, are we a bit assumptive to assume that that candidate, because they fall outside of the years of experience that we're looking at towards leveling, wouldn't be interested in moving forward with that role? So I kind of wonder where we're headed in that path with grappling the leveling issues.
I'll cover this one. So it's a great question. It's also a really difficult one, right? I come from the EMEA operation where it is illegal to put years of experience on a job spec because of age discrimination. So I really struggle to grapple with time as part of a qualification. You're either good enough to do a job or you're not. Everyone know who Jeff Dean is? If you got Jeff Dean's resume, right, and you're like, oh, he doesn't have 32 years of experience, we're not going to hire him. It'd be just like crazy, because the person is possibly the greatest computer scientist in the world, right? So you don't get any better at doing the job, no matter how long you've been doing it for, in those kinds of senses. So time is very difficult. Where they're actually coming from in this piece, though, is having a particular profile in mind of amount of experience, level of capability to bring the person in at the right level, to then give the momentum within the role because of scope. What happens at Google is that roles, you can be sat in a seat doing a job, and that job only has scope to go to a certain level. So if you bring somebody in who's already at the top of that, you can never promote that person. That person has no career trajectory in that seat. So they would then be forced to move jobs. And that's probably the motivating underlying root cause as to why you're getting pushback on their candidates for those reasons. So in that sense, it's actually in the candidate's best interest not to go into that role, because they would already be matching the scope and the level at the maximum end of that. And it'd be very difficult for them to have the long-term career at Google, which is actually what we want Nooglers to have. So the purpose there would be to reposition them to the right role for that candidate when they then become the right candidate at the right time. And then it's managing their expectations, keeping them, whether it's the G4G program or something else, to revisit them when the right role for them does appear. Does that make sense?
It does. I just sometimes feel like there's a massive gap between being in some roles, right? They want candidates to come in and L2, L3, typically, or oftentimes, and then there's a jump to like leadership, right? Or a meeting at 6 or 7. So sometimes I feel like it's hard for me to find those opportunities for those candidates that have maybe 10 years experience in a very specific role. Maybe they don't, judging by their resume, it doesn't look like they're looking for trajectory outside of the role they're doing, and perhaps they're doing it really well. And I wonder if we miss out.
We probably do. To paraphrase, because people might not have heard, it's the middle level positions, 10 years worth of experience, 4, 5, 6s, that you're struggling to find the opportunity for. The reason for that is internal mobility. 90% of those roles get filled internally within the GBOP space, for example. So they're not there to be posted externally. And that's a natural business progression as well. So trying to force people in from the external would actually stop internal mobility, which is a company priority. So these are insights not from a perspective of active channels, but more from leading teams here at Google and being part of that kind of construct.
One thing that we found in leadership too, for actually our most successful partners are the people that actually chat with the candidate. They're like, I think we'd get even more hires if more of what a sorcerer is called in leadership is a researcher, if more people would have time to be open to digging more into the background, because sometimes we can't tell level so clearly on a resume. So that's one thing that we're advocating for more in our group too.
Hello. I like this running around thing with the mic.
When it comes to us being more consultants in that space, is there a plan in the works to get universal buy-in when it comes to us being consultants on job descriptions and not getting that pushback asking from like recruiters or hiring managers saying, why are you changing that? Or how do you know that? Rather than just saying, okay.
Great question. So anyone want to talk about Petal and those things? Or do you want me to?
I could talk about it.
Go on, David.
So I feel that a lot of this is really, it's educating our partners, right? In terms of the tools, it's using Petal and sharing the results with them, but it's a partnership. It shouldn't be like us versus them. It should be really us explaining why we're saying the things we're saying based on all the content strategy, based on Petal results, right? Where that's really the grounding that we have, and that should make you feel confident in what you're recommending.
So what we're building is the systems and the tools that are actually going to do part of the job for you, right? Petal is one example, if anyone's seen it, that ensures that the language you're using, the words that you're using in the job specification, have an equality basis, that they reach out to a representative pipeline rather than narrowing the people who feel comfortable applying to a subset of the workforce, right? That's just one tool. JDroid and a whole bunch of other different things are designed for a hiring manager to utilize in the moment to teach them how to write a job spec effectively in the same way that you want to consult to it. So the idea there is that the system is pushing the change rather than you. So it no longer becomes a battle of wills between you and the hiring manager or you and the recruiter, but the systems are actually set up to say, here's the thing that you wrote, this is how we recommend it being written, and this is why, and here's the data that supports that this works. So the data says that if we get this right, we will have a 55% increase in quality, which actually means we will close roles much faster because the better quality candidates have applied earlier and filled the positions. And it also shows a significant increase in applications from all 3 underrepresented demographics when we follow the methodologies that have been put in place with these tools. So you will then be backing this up with the consultative approach of pointing them back to these systems and elaborating on the reasons why, and then driving that change. And then making sure that it's not just lip service paid to the changes that they made, but they actually recognize that, again, it's a contract that they've just written, and that the minimum qualifications and the job title and everything else, there's a reason behind it, and this is the result they're going to get. And here is the fantastic representative pipeline that they know they want. They just didn't know the mechanisms to get to it because they never even figured that the language they were writing had an impact. Does that answer? Cool.
I think in addition to the tools that are being put in place, one of the things that comes into question is the expectation of that partnership. And I know that there are a lot of groups that work very, very closely with recruiting and sourcing teams. And so there are already systems in place where they actually require active channels input before any requisitions go external. Now, that's not always the case, but I think in addition to, I think I saw Chris Patton on here earlier, but the analysis that Chris did in regards to what went into Petal and making sure that our postings are inclusive, OCC has actually built a job posting guidelines deck and training that is going to be incorporated into GPS Academy so that recruiters are aware of these guidelines and understand the consultation that goes behind them. So ideally moving forward, when we do reach out to them to make changes and we are talking about Petal and coming to them to be a consultant, they're not thrown off and wondering where it's coming from. They should start to get this more on the front end so that it's more of a partnership as we continue to build out these additional tools.
The other thing I should add is tell them stories. All right? We should have a library of stories of where job specs went wrong. Does anyone know the story about the vacuum cleaner company? So if you go onto our career site and you see GTech everywhere, you don't know what GTech is, right? It's an internal language. So you go onto Google and you search for GTech. What happens for the rest of your next 3 months? Every time you go on a Facebook, every time you go onto a website with display ads, this fantastic vacuum cleaner company called GTech appear, right? Trying to sell you a vacuum cleaner because you've Googled that term. And then there's my favorite job spec of all time, which is the GPS Learning Navigation Specialist. What does that mean to the outside world? That job title meant GPS Learning Navigation, GPS navigation. SatNav. You got software engineers who built maps and mapping systems and SatNav systems and everything else applying for it. Anyone want to hazard a guess of what the actual job was internally? GPS Learning Navigation Specialist. Training Program Manager. So training within GPS, within People Ops, and you had SatNav engineers applying for the job in Dublin. The screener was like, I don't understand why I've got all these engineers applying for this job. The job spec was purely internal language. These are the stories that you can tell to bring it home to hiring managers, some of whom are a bit like me and have been around for so many years, they've forgotten that there is an outside world, right? Tell the stories, elaborate on this stuff, and you'll start to land your message. The logical reason from the data, then the emotional reason from these stories, and then the tools help with the facilitation of how you're going to help them change their mindset and then change the demographics of their team. Any other questions? How are we for time? 5 minutes. Annie.
Thank you. So I have a question for more on the tech and campus team that I'm not very familiar with, because right now the GBOP space is trying to move our SLA for all candidates from 7 days to 3 days. We're still in progress moving over, and I'm wondering what the other two teams and also the leadership team, you have a different set of metrics, are keeping your SLA at, and do you have a new goal for this year?
I hate the term SLA, right? SLAs are banned. We have targets, right? It doesn't make a difference. It makes a huge difference, but you stick an SLA in, what does everyone do? It's like your homework when you're a kid. You leave it till the last day and then you get it done. But for the actual work that needs to be done, it's the same volume of work. So let's just do it on the first day, the day they apply. That's our target. Everyone's target, first day. Don't worry about SLAs, forget about them. Tell no one we've got an SLA. We are doing our best to screen every single application on the day they apply, because that gives us the best pass-through rate and the best chance for that person to be a Googler. Now I've forgotten the rest of the question, so I'll pass it over.
That's also a sneak peek into Jim's parenting style. I think like his daughter has already completed kindergarten.
I was just going to say Jim took my answer, but that's fine. I mean, for our targets in the campus space are 7 or 10 days, depending on what role it is, right? When the busy season hits, sometimes it's pretty near impossible, especially the first or second week. The application volume is so immense that to get outside of 7 days, we have 10. That's our target, but really 24 hours.
So on the intern side, because we were just overrun, our increase was upwards of 30% applications. We actually cut off the timer for SLAs because we want to focus on like getting to the candidates as quickly as we possibly can, right? There's so many hours in a day, there's only so many people, right? And so what it causes when we, push and pressure and say, you've got 3 days to get to 1,000 people, is that you don't think about sharing. You don't think about other opportunities that this candidate could have. You miss the things that, so many just in our, kudos to people, right? These things that people found like, oh, I noticed that this resume isn't as tight as it could be, or there's something off here, or, the candidate who had this one little thing that ended up propelling him into a diverse OA that nobody was even looking for or targeting, right? And so we also don't want to push that narrative that, let's just focus it and drive it all in. On the intern side, we took it away. And then ironically, when we went back and pulled our Vox Pop scores, ironically, it wasn't as awful as we thought that it would be, right? And in my mind, we were just kind of like, just don't look at it, just don't look at it. But when we actually pulled it, we were right in line with where Google sits anyway. So I think it's more about keeping that candidate experience, keeping that passion for treating the candidate like it's yourself every time. And I think if you focus on that first and you make that your true north, I think that's how you ultimately achieve the SLAs, if there is one, but there's not.
I'm going to add to this. So with tech, it kind of varies per profile, but we aim for 24 hours, not just from our side of the house, but from our partners as well. I think one of the biggest roadblocks that we face, though, is the time to action from our partners and just making sure that we're moving as quickly as possible. And I don't know about everyone in this room, but I am personally a green, and I need the numbers. I need the data to show me why it's important and what the potential impact is. As of right now, and Chris, you might be still on GBC or not, but Brandy Wentz and I have been working with Chris, and hopefully within the coming months or sooner rather than later, we're trying to look at the impact of SLAs and how quickly you action a candidate could directly impact where they land in the process, whether they're higher or lower withdrawal rates, if they result in more offers, et cetera. So more to come on that. We don't actually have any findings, but I think for us, it would be impactful to get this data and say, if you action a candidate as quickly as possible, you'll have potentially lower withdrawal rates or higher OAs, but more to come.
Cool, we're at time. I just want to hear the vision one more time. But also, Greg, were you in Vegas at the weekend? That's why your watch is 2 hours behind. Can I get the vision one more time? Someone who's got it written down?
Oh, you're volunteering.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. We turn millions of dreams into thousands of jobs that build hundreds of products that impact billions of losers. So you're listening. That impact billions of users.
Brilliant. Thank you, everyone.
I'm glad y'all did it.
Thank you both. Perfect. Oh,
Good.
2019 version interaction. That was so cool.
I'm really glad this is going to land a lot better if we shift it away from us.
Yeah.
We have great people. Give it to them.
Effort well spent.
Good.
Kiss good now. This could be my last moonlight. We'll never feel this way again. We'll never feel this way again. Feel this way again. Yeah. We'll never feel this way again. Yeah. We'll never feel this way again. Feel this way again. Yeah. Those petals once wilted for dying love don't hurt no more. A resting place where young hearts die. The dreams are real and plentiful, and everything is spiritual. I kiss your lips and the veins of sighs. And you look into me, it's paradise. Don't need another sunrise. And with you right next to me, and a kiss goodnight. And this could be my last moonlight, 'cause I gotta be yours forever. Until the day's end, and I gotta be loved forever. Surrender, we'll never feel this way again.